People are really calling Andrew Wiggins a bust. Oh my god, bro. Okay, let's slow down here for a minute, okay? Let's calm down and let's relax. First things first, Andrew Wiggins is not a bust. If you went back to the 2013 season, you'd find many articles on Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and the Harrison twins. Okay, maybe not the Harrison twins, but you'd find a lot of hype surrounding these two players who were destined for NBA stardom. Andrew Wiggins was viewed as a transcendent talent who was compared to a prime Tracy McGrady and Kobe Bryant. His potential was through the roof and his athleticism was right below prime LeBron James, but right above Blake Griffin before all of his injuries. And if you'd never seen Blake Griffin before his injuries, please do yourself a favor, go onto YouTube, type in Blake Griffin 2012 highlights. You're welcome. Whereas Jabari Parker was viewed as a Carmelo Anthony type talent. A friend of mine once told me that Jabari Parker was so fundamentally sound as a small forward that he would eventually become the Tim Duncan of the small forward position. But this video is not about Jabari. Perhaps the next one will be. Speaking of which, if you guys want to vote on what player we cover next, make sure to comment the player you'd like a video on in the comment section and why. The two players that receive the most votes will be entered into a poll on my Instagram account for you guys to vote on. I'll leave my Instagram in the description down below, but before we get started, I need you guys to write in the comment section down below. Is Andrew Wiggins a draft bust? If so, why or why not? I'm gonna give you guys 5 seconds to do so. Let me take you back to Andrew Wiggins' draft profile in 2014. Wiggins is a human pogo stick with go-go gadget arms. He doesn't jump, he levitates off the ground. It's almost as if he pauses in the air before returning back to earth. When he finally lands, he has the ability to pop right back up. Wiggins' second jump is incredibly quick and makes him deadly on the offensive glass. Wiggins' only weaknesses were the fact that he struggled when the game slowed down. Nothing that a good coach and a good scheme could not do. Heck, most of the NBA today operates off of quick baskets and accelerating the pace while spacing out the floor in order to score off of quick basketball cuts and wide open three-pointers. Warriors. Here's something that a lot of analysts do that drives me crazy. The moment a young player underperforms, he is labeled a bust, which is incredibly tacky, cliche, and lazy analysis. Andrew Wiggins is not a bust, and if you're even contemplating it, then you've been reading way too many Skip Bayless tweets. Let's compare Wiggins to Evan Turner, another lottery pick which I actually recently did a video on. Evan Turner was the #2 pick of the Philadelphia 76ers, and at the conclusion of his 4th season, the Sixers didn't pick up his option and traded him to the Pacers. If you look at Wiggins, the Timberwolves would not dream of letting a player of Andrew Wiggins' caliber leave this offseason. He's already flashed incredible potential when he received the opportunity. So why is Andrew Wiggins not performing well? It's simple. He's not in an environment to succeed and grow as a player. Now, before you click off of this video, I want to emphasize that the Timberwolves are a great team. Karl Anthony Towns is an incredible franchise cornerstone. Jimmy Butler is an alpha dog to put them over the hump. Taj Gibson is an underrated role player, and I absolutely love him. Jeff Teague is a talented point guard, but it's simply way too early in Andrew Wiggins' career to put him on a super team. The kid never got an opportunity to fully develop his skill set. If we went back to his days at Kansas, you'd see a lot of scouts reporting that Andrew Wiggins had one incredibly frustrating flaw: the fact that he would disappear in games if he couldn't find his shots. And this is something that applies to a lot of facets of life. Say you're at a party, a friend introduces you to 3 women and then completely freezes you out of the conversation and doesn't try to get you involved at all. First of all, that guy's a horrible wingman, but the women aren't going to engage you and you're going to be on the outside looking in. Because of this, you will begin to lose confidence and just casually sit there on your phone awkwardly. I would know, it's happened to me many times. This is pretty much what's happening to Andrew Wiggins. With the addition of Karl Anthony Towns in 2016, I was starting to become worried that Andrew would have less of an opportunity to shine and grow as the lead man on the Timberwolves. But I was proven wrong in 2017, as he averaged 23.6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He flashed his potential on numerous occasions and showed why he was the #1 overall pick. With the addition of Jimmy Butler, he is no longer the Timberwolves' go-to player in clutch situations. Now, think about how many game winners Andrew Wiggins has hit. Think about that fadeaway over Kobe Bryant, and you will see what I mean. It's no longer Wiggins taking those shots. That is definitely going to affect his confidence. The go-to player now is Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. Wiggins disappears because he isn't being included as much in the Timberwolves offense, and now we're getting people calling a player who has averaged over 20 points in the past 2 years a draft bust. Bear in mind that Andrew Wiggins is only 22 years old. Now, what would have been the proper way to develop Andrew Wiggins? Pay attention to how the Los Angeles Lakers developed Brandon Ingram. During Ingram's rookie year, he averaged 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. If you're a Laker fan, I'm sure you can agree with me when I say the man was a ghost out there. He had no idea what he was doing, and a lot of Laker fans, myself included, were starting to wonder where the Kevin Durant comparisons came from. But if you looked deeper, the Lakers roster wasn't built for Brandon Ingram to succeed. Ingram came to a team that featured D'Angelo Russell, a scoring point guard, Lou Williams, a scoring shooting guard, himself, Julius Randle, and Timofey Mozgov. That made him the number 3 option. The Lakers, realizing this, figured that they were ruining Ingram's career and potential and were not putting him into a position to succeed. So what do? They trade Lou Williams, and Ingram became the number 2 option. Almost immediately you saw Ingram become more aggressive and understand his role better. This offseason, the Lakers doubled down on Brandon Ingram by trading D'Angelo Russell and opting for a pass-first point guard who could take some pressure off of Brandon Ingram with his passing and basketball IQ. That player is Lonzo Ball. At the time of this video, Brandon Ingram has almost doubled his averages from last year, with 15.9 points, 3.4 assists, and 5.3 rebounds per game, and a player efficiency rating of 12.69, which, by the way, is still less than the amount Andrew Wiggins would average in his rookie year and this year. Wiggins still averages 20 points per game for his career. The talent is clearly there, so what happens next? Well, there are 2 options. In 2012, the Oklahoma City Thunder were faced with a difficult decision. One of the members of their talented 4-piece championship core had to go. Sam Presti had to choose between Serge Ibaka, their dominant starting big man, who was developing at a rapid rate. Seriously, this guy went from just being a rebounder and rim protector to a stretch 4 in like 1 year. Or James Harden, their number 3 overall pick, who was their 6th man. Sam Presti is quite possibly the best executive in the NBA today. But this is one decision that he made the wrong call on, which I don't blame him. If you had to choose between a starter and a 6th man on a championship team, you'd probably choose the starter. James Harden was traded and his potential was fully unleashed. I feel like the exact same thing would happen for Andrew Wiggins if he went to any team that needed a true star to build around. If you traded Andrew Wiggins to the Hawks, Grizzlies, Nuggets, or even the Knicks, I bet you he would fulfill his potential. Or if Jimmy Butler left and his role in the Minnesota offense was elevated. Or number 2, Andrew Wiggins can accept his role for now. Jimmy only has 3 to 4 more years of dominance left before Wiggins would need to increase his role in the offense. Until then, he would assume the exact same role that James Worthy assumed during the duration of his entire career with the Lakers. The similarities between James Worthy and Andrew Wiggins is almost perfect. Like Wiggins, Worthy was the number 1 pick in the 1982 NBA draft. But unlike Wiggins, he was drafted to a championship team. In the first 4 years of his career, Worthy would have to share the ball with himself, Irvin Magic Johnson, who dominated the ball, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. Not exactly the greatest position for a number 1 overall pick to fully unleash why he's the number 1 overall pick. So in the first 4 years of his career, James Worthy would average 13 points per game in 1983, 14 points per game in 1984, and 17 points per game in 1985, where he won a championship before finally averaging 20 points per game in 1986. As James Worthy's role increased in the Showtime Lakers offense, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's role would become smaller, as in 1986, Kareem would average 23 points per game before dropping to 17 points per game in 1987, 14 points per game in 1988, and 10 points per game in his final season in the NBA. This prolonged Kareem's career as he played 19 years in the NBA. And get this, Kareem won a championship in 1987 and 1988 despite his production falling off of a cliff. Luckily for him, he had James Worthy to pick up the slack. Either way, I think Andrew Wiggins is going to be fine and will have a great NBA career. If he chooses to accept a lesser role now with the Timberwolves, his chances at an NBA championship increase greatly. And guys, let's stop calling players who average 20 points per game on playoff teams draft busts, because it's not a good look at all.